Good morning. Good morning. I hope that you are doing well. It's been a busy week. My name is Donnie Glover. Welcome to today's show, April 21st, 2022. Well, as you know, the Maryland General Assembly ended last week, and we would like to speak with our elected officials to see what they accomplished in Annapolis. And for those who may not know, here in the state of Maryland, we have 188 state legislators, 47 state senators, and that leaves 141 state delegates. And typically in the state of Maryland, most districts have one state senator and three state delegates. And their job is to go to Annapolis, write legislation, and bring back the money. At least that's what I've always gathered. So today's guest would be Delegate Wanika Fisher. She's from gorgeous Prince George's County. She has some events coming up. We're going to check with her to get a recap of what this session has meant for her and her district. In other news, there is a gubernatorial election, a statewide election here in the state of Maryland, come July 19th. Even though redistricting caused a lot of delays, we are nonetheless set for July 19th to go forward with this year's primary election, again, July 19th. And it's our hope that we can provide you with some insight on the various candidates. We've interviewed a few of the gubernatorial candidates. We've interviewed a few of the lieutenant governor candidates. But without further ado, we're going to go straight down to gorgeous Prince George's County and speak with the one and only Delegate Wanika Fisher. How are you? Good morning.
I'm good, Donnie. How are you?
You stay fly. You know that. You always be fly.
You gotta try. And since COVID and we've been trapped, I'm like, anytime I can do something different, I try to do it.
Good for you. Is that's so that's a good mental health practice, right? Like do our best to make things normal.
Oh yeah, and I feel happy that Maryland overall we've done a great job with the vaccine and booster availability. Prince George's County, I think we're about it was an 80%, like 86% vaccinated statistic, and we're doing really well. So I'm really proud of everyone that's worked really hard to get our community safe.
One stat I saw on television that said that 90% of Marylanders have gotten at least one shot. How do they know? Because I'm looking at some cats and they don't look like they've been anywhere near a vaccination clinic and don't plan to.
True. I think our Department of Health logs all the information, and there's a central database. And for major counties and cities like Baltimore, Prince George's, Montgomery County, Howard, they feed all that information towards that. I think we also have to realize we're a border state, so we have a big transient population. You might see someone in your community for a while, and then they like go do work for Baltimore, right? They might do work in York or Philly and come back. For me, in Prince George's, we have a lot of people in between Virginia and DC all the time. So I think it is hard in that way on where people's real residents can be because there's such a transient workforce. But for the most part, the data is real from Department of Health, as they say. And Dr. Askew from my county does a great job of tracking all of that, and it all feeds into the same system. And then our Army National Guard under General Burkhead also feeds that information for all the clinics that they manage.
Now, I don't want to rush through that part. That's the black woman general,
Yeah,
brigadier general.
yes, big deal.
Yeah, it is.
So we've only had two black female generals in Maryland. Currently General Burkhead, and before her it was General Singh, both of which I've experienced in my term as delegate. And so they're both doing an amazing job, and I think she deserves the credit more than our governor with the Vaccine Equity Task Force and why.
I
why
knew some shade was coming. I just
I
felt
can
like some shade was coming.
why Black and Brown communities have done so well in our community, and she, always elevates. I find people of color in my own county. Marlon Jenkins was underneath her heading the Lieutenant Colonel Marlon Jenkins was heading the vaccine task force here, and really helped as I have a very healthy and vibrant Latino community in my district in getting the vaccine to them, and it was a good relationship. So I really give her kudos.
So I don't want you to think I'm going to give you softball questions.
I
This is
never
baseball.
expect that.
This is baseball season, and we have some questions around here.
Uh-huh.
So, and you're not expecting them. I mean, this is baseball season, so here comes your first curveball. Are you ready?
Okay.
So, I see the United States having a particular empathy for the Ukraine.
Yes.
You have roots in West Africa among your lineage.
Yes.
As a black man in America, I was particularly troubled when I saw that black students in the Ukraine, as the invasion was occurring, were prevented from leaving. So, my question to you is, when you hear about the Ukraine and it's on the news every day, and I see Johns Hopkins sending millions to the Ukraine, I think Hampton University's president was scolded for offering up scholarships to Ukrainian students. And then I think back to, and I know I'm moving around, when immigrants were coming from Haiti and they were stopped at the United States border by men on horseback with whips. How come I don't hear that same, or I don't see that same media attention on Africa, on conflicts on the continent of Africa?
Right. I think, well, there's two things. There's resources and money, and then there's racism. So I think, you know, I think you see the media attention and I would say the Western world's care and interest. And as we all think what's going on in the Ukraine is horrible. No one's saying that. But I think you see a heightened interest due to our relationship with Russia, due to the access to just oil and the natural resources around the world and our competitive nations and what that does, you know, on our playing field as the US. And I wouldn't say I'm an international policy expert. This is just Wanika Fisher's opinions. So I would say I think that's the first reason why we care so much. We always care where our wallet is. If there's anything going on or conflict with China as well, I think you would see the United States very engaged in that because there's a huge economic interest engaged in that. When it comes to Catholics conflicts in my home continent, well, all of our home continent, to be honest, and specifically, I'm Nigerian and South African, and in other nations, we've had genocide issues. We've had different countries trying to invade and disrespect sovereign borders and similar situations. I think it's because one, it's a country of Black people, and so I think the heartstring of seeing of Black people in turmoil is constant, and I don't think sometimes some groups see our pain as the same. And then I would also say, we could get in a long story on sort of the raping of resources in the continent. And now if you fast forward with current African administrations and their government, what we give US companies in our resources, there's no economic threat to those conflicts. Like the United States is still going to get paid, if that makes sense, whether it's their company or if there's a particular natural resource in that region that we're concerned about. And that has to partly do, I think, this is just my perspective. There's obviously that racial aspect, but there's also the way in which money and contracts have gone down with the ruling classes and the ruling um um leaders in these countries, I think. So that's kind of why I think you see the big difference. And I think for all of us, when it comes to news coverage, I just think I don't own these big media firms, or know those folks, but they always want to, it's we see it all the time. They always want to show white pain and white struggle, and not black and brown, black pain specifically, struggle and pain. I mean, why? I was talking to a girlfriend of mine about the young lady, and it's very sad, who went missing. I think her name was Gabby Bieto, on that trip with her boyfriend, and then they found the boyfriend's body in Florida later on, right? And we talk about when black and brown and indigenous folks are women are missing, nobody cares at that same level. And there's so many isms into that. So that's just here at home, just an incident, just one person, her being missing, and all the attention she got to find her. And she was a blogger and things like that. But it's also because she was blonde, blue eyed. And I also stand up for the thick women out there. She's also thin. There's so many isms that plague our community, right? And I was talking to a girlfriend who was African American and really skinny. And I also said, I also have to stand up for my white sisters out there. I never see us talk about a thick white woman missing either, right? There were so many isms into her case, not just her race, also her size. I have never seen a thick person, a woman of any race, being reported on missing or raped or killed or anything. So, I think there's so many layers to coverage. And I just give you that example because it's a little easier for viewers to put their mind around that difference, and then add Gabby is the Ukraine, and then African countries are black and brown women and thick women. So it's all about, who we find vulnerable, who we find worthy of care and a helping hand. Um, and I think all of those things interplay. That's a long answer, but
Why the hell aren't we running you for governor?
I'm not ready for that life, Donnie. I
You're
appreciate.
already doing it. You've been in service long before you were a delegate, correct?
Yes, I worked around politics, which I got the opportunity to get to know you, Mr. Glover, and I'm excited. I'm transitioning to the Prince George's County Council in my home county. I'll be leaving my state house seat for county council, which I'm really excited about. So, I'm finding my own
Did I miss this?
journey. I've been announced since June, but I'm not in the Baltimore region, and what's so sad about Prince George's in Montgomery County is, unlike the beautiful city of Baltimore, we really don't have our own media. We get so absorbed by DC, and like the Washington Post will cover us, one or two articles a week.
I,
It's
I
really
have
hard
some
for
I
the
have some
public to know what's
breaking
happening.
news. You're on the front cover right now of the PrinceGeorgian.com.
Yes, I am. Yes, I am. So,
We
and that's
had to help start a publication. Martin Mitchell is the editor.
oh wow.
Robert Deshay is doing some contributing. I'm trying to find Colin Bird. He's been a little quiet lately.
Yeah.
But we launched this in the past month for that very reason. For the 20 years I've been coming to places like Woodmore and Indian Head Highway, that's quite a difference. There's always been this call for black media, and this is our attempt to get that ball rolling. So whatever you have,
And I will share it. And
please keep sending your updates. And I got to commend you and your colleagues there in Prince George's for keeping us informed. I mean, whether it's Delegate Barnes, he's been sending out this bi-county business newsletter the county council sends out. I did not know you're leaving, and now I know why. I didn't know, but someone else from who's a delegate is running for either Prince George's County Council or Montgomery. But I see there's a significant, well, they make more money.
yeah, I mean, they do, but I think for those of us that have another full-time job, it ends up being a little bit the same in the end, right? It's like I do work a whole other job to make ends meet. Delegate is not enough financially, and it's public information. We make like $50,000, so it's just not enough. So I'd say like it is money, but I think it's more about how you want to serve and see like for me, I've done amazing bills in Annapolis. My right to counsel bill that got fully funded this year. Maryland, some people say we're the first or the second, but we're a lead state in that if you're low income in Maryland, you will have a free attorney next this end of this year to be with you in eviction proceedings if you want it. And that's a big game changer. So I'm really proud about the bills I've done there, but I think when you see um, the lack of affordable housing in your area, or there's no grocery store in this specific area, those are really local level issues that I'm very excited to kind of dive into in my own county. And I would say for me in particular, why I'm doing it right now is I'm sure a lot of you in the Baltimore region have heard about Purple Line, right? So Purple Line is finally on its way. I've been talking about it since I was 19 at University of Maryland. There's an old picture of me rallying for Purple Line on campus. And, the kind of black and brown businesses around the corridor, the affordable housing near the Purple Line, those decisions are going to be made now and have very long lasting effects in my community. So with that coming in the pipeline, and I've got about 3 Purple Line stops in my district. I'm Metro. I've got two regular Metro stops now. It's a huge. So I border the entire DC region. My district is, for your viewers, like I'm bordering DC. I'm 10 minutes from U Street. So I've got a different Prince George's reality than like a Woodmore does. So whoever's our council member for the next 8 years is going to make major decisions that are going to affect just kind of the course of this area forever versus, serving in the House has been absolutely amazing and a joy. It's always something I can go back to do. But I think the decisions on the local level, when you have big transit like that happening, those are, as you've seen, Donnie, in your time, those are irreplaceable, building a metro corridor. So I really am excited to be a part of that.
When it comes to the Purple Line, will it involve the raising, destruction of any businesses?
It does. So myself and Delegate Janelle Wilkins on the Silver Spring part, we were able to get $20 million for our corridor for our small business relief due to construction. It has been rough. Um, um,
Because
with
once you level a bill, if I had to, and this is not even a physical location, if for some reason I had to change my phone number, it disrupts business.
exactly.
If you have to
So
physically move, it's
It it's crazy. So we've gotten them that relief, right, from the state, and so one of the reasons why I'm leaving my state delegacy to run for council is to see that through on the local level as we start really building and seeing it. I mean, all of New Hampshire Avenue, my district is in turmoil. So when folks don't really know your area and the on ground what's happening, they don't not all the time they understand your decisions. And so that's huge. And then, our property values in my part of the county are up extremely. So it's like, the house next door to me without a stitch of paint or anything just sold for 450 and my school is a 3, right? So North County, Prince George's is very unique. We have very unique problems. We have very interesting enclaves of different communities. I have an extremely diverse immigrant and Latino community that I have to take care of as well and figure out what's going on there. So there's a lot to be done in this transitional place for North County. And I think my colleagues that used to represent Senator Obie Patterson would probably tell you when MGM was coming through, that was a big deal. And him being the council member there, to figure things out for his community was extremely important. So when you have those big projects coming in your area, who your council member really affects it. I was very young at that time. I don't know if I was alive yet, but when FedEx Field got put into the county, right? Those were bad decisions. Why did you have townhouses near a major stadium? There's nowhere to eat, there's nowhere to stay. The whole thing is a mess and we're still paying for it because bad decisions were made by the folks that represented that specific area. You know what I mean? So I think I just wanted to give you those examples on why, at least in Prince George's County, the time in which a big project's coming through in your district, you want a great council member. And sadly, that FedEx community is still paying for it, because who would build a bunch of townhouses near a major stadium? I have no idea if any of you have gone to see a Washington football team game. It just doesn't make sense. You can't even have dinner and go to the game. It's not like the Orioles Stadium in Baltimore was designed very well. Ravens and Orioles is designed very well. Not perfect, but much better than what I'm dealing with. Much better than what we're dealing with.
Uh, so let me take you back before you were born, 1973.
Okay.
Maryland, we want you to vote for the Maryland State Lottery. We guarantee money for education. This is 2022, so that's 73, 27, 29, 49 years later. We have a billion, we have, bless you, we have 15 billion, well, bless your heart,
Sorry.
15 billion that we've garnered from the Maryland State Lottery. 15 billion. It used to be a Wikipedia entry. I think I've talked about it so much they took it down. But if I've right on point, it's about 15 billion that's come through the Maryland State Lottery. O'Malley and them approved table gambling and slots. Yet, while we have a brand new baseball stadium and a brand new football stadium, and I'm not a big fan of the baseball moving from where it was. You know, it's more welcoming to other places, but us locals here, it's a different experience.
Of course. I would never say I could relate. So I know there's problems. I just when I visit both, I
Well, I
just
get it. I get it. No, I get it. It's supposed to be a wonderful experience. But let me take you to something more relevant. There's one guy on this network. He's watching the show now, Glenn Smith. He's with this transportation equity, and they wanted the red line. They're big proponents of the red line. And I've been hearing that for a long time. But the thing is, the red line could have been made shovel ready by then Governor Martin O'Malley. And he didn't. He kicked the can down the road. And so all I've been hearing for the past 8 years is that Hogan killed the red line. And it's like, but my real challenge with the red line, I didn't hear anyone talking about what you have said. When you build that red line, because we've seen failed transportation projects. Real quick, in Baltimore, we have a subway system that goes from downtown Baltimore to northwest Baltimore County, and that's it. It is the dumbest piece of mass transportation in the nation. Atlanta's was built around the same time. They have a north-south leg and an east-west leg. So it's a T. It's egalitarian, it's utilitarian. And so pardon me, but I don't have a lot of confidence in the transportation planners for Baltimore. I
no,
don't know
no.
if you're dealing with that, but nobody's, and then the businesses, my dad's business was decimated when they built the subway system.
Oh,
And I don't remember us getting $20 million.
yeah, and that's because you have to have the right people fighting for you. Like I will say,
Ooh.
it was me and Delegate Wilkins were the two youngest Black women elected to the MGA. We're about a month and a half apart. We're best friends, and we border that area and both represent the same corridor. She's the MoCo side of New Hampshire Ave. I'm the Prince George's side, and I think that just shows you leadership and elections really, really matter. And so, there's if you put it into Google, we had press coverage where both of our county executives got involved. We were able to bring those businesses the money, the relief they needed for this construction period. So it is just with purple, I've never in my lifetime gotten to witness like a whole metro line being built, but it's an exciting time. But it's not going to be exciting if communities are left out and left behind. And so for me, that's been one of the biggest reasons I've transitioned to wanting to go to the county council. And at the time, I didn't see anyone. There was one person, but the woman didn't decide to run for council that I thought would do a good job. And sometimes you have to be called to leadership, not because you want to. I'm the highest ranking freshman member. It's hard to leave the house with great leadership and great relationships, but my community just needs me more. And so that's why I'm transitioning now. I can't speak to other people why they choose to run for whatever. And for me, I don't come, I put all my money in my house in my district. I need to make sure the development around my house makes sense. I'm not moving anywhere else. I can't afford to. So it's really, really important to me. And I'm sure, um, you would feel the same in the Baltimore region and others. These major projects really upheave the entire community.
Delegate, who are we liking for governor?
Oh, that's a great question. I have not endorsed anyone in the governor's campaign. I'm actually in a very tough council race. Um, I mean, I like a lot of the candidates. I think Tom Perez is great. I think Wes Moore has great qualities. Doug Gansler has great qualities. My former county executive, Rashawn Baker, has great qualities. I think all of the gentlemen, and their LG, outstanding female candidates as well, have a lot to offer. I think, um, it's really tough because there's so many candidates. It's hard to really digest exactly what their differences are going to be. But I have not endorsed in that race.
So let's at least celebrate that. And I think it's unprecedented. Historically, on the Republican side, there was this, they started it. Michael Steele, Anthony Brown, Boyd Rutherford, the black LG, the black male LG. Is this the year of the black female LG?
I think so. I think and thank you for pointing that out. My brain just, but I think, Black Girl Magic is real. Welcome to it. I think the Democratic Party, whether it's the elections in Georgia and other South Carolina for Joe Biden, you've seen Black women show up and win. I am so emotional about Supreme Court Justice Jackson and her amazing.
Why?
Um, I'm excited for her because I think you can only see things you can believe. I don't think, and I hope no one would hold me 100% accountable for my entire race and gender. That's impossible. But I think humans have flaws. Humans figure out the best way to serve. And Contender Brown Jackson's story, the work that she's done, whether you agree with some of it or you don't, I mean, she said it best herself. Her family went from segregation to the Supreme Court. I mean, that is um, uplifting. And if someone who's a lawyer, um, myself, I'm just really excited for our country to have her opinion on our Supreme Court. I really, really am. And when it comes to to just go back to the black women on the governor candidates, I think any person running for governor knows you need black women to vote in order for you to win, and that we are the backbone of the party and the backbone of this state. And if you also take a look at Annapolis, our numbers aren't as great in the Senate, but go look about at how many black women are in the House of Delegates right now. A lot of us. And I think when you start to think about as senators get older or retire, I think you're going to see a lot more black women in that Senate chamber as well as the years go by.
Delegate Fisher, does your generation understand power?
Um, that's a good question.
We're glad to have delegates and state senators. We're glad to be Democrats. But when I look around my city, 9-1 Democrat. I got black state senators, black delegates, black council people, black mayors. But I don't have enough adequate education facilities in my community. There's a new school next door, but my kids can't even access it. And so I'm wondering, what's the point of having so many black elected officials if it isn't improving my quality of life? If my state senators aren't going to tell me, well, we had to build it over there because you don't have enough people in your community, but my community is the same one on television getting shot up every night.
Right. I think so. I always say this between the generations. I think the previous generation was very focused on being at the table, which is super important because we just weren't in the rooms. I think my generation is more focused on, well, what's on the menu now that I'm sitting here. And so I would say that I think it's important to have um, black elected officials or elected officials that represent their communities. It's more important to have policy that reflects those communities. But in order to do those things, now that you have the black elected officials, whether it's your city or my county, it's also important to have um, an electorate and an accountability from the community for those same individuals. And it's important to realize that in politics, we're still dealing with a lot of money interests that are not necessarily elected, that you have to manage in politics. And I think that it's important for our elected officials to be honest, to figure out what their priorities are, and to understand that you have to sacrifice sometimes to win. You know, you're not always going to get what you want in politics, in Annapolis, on a council, anywhere. And sometimes you have to be willing to lose one thing to gain another. And so it just depends on what that politicians or that community's um, ultimate goals are and what they want to see. And the only person that can keep them accountable is their community themselves. I will tell you this, in other communities in our state, they have let's just use our white brothers and sisters, you know, in the they're white elected officials, and if they don't do something when it comes to the environment or something else, their community is on fire and criticizing them, and there's an accountability, and I've seen it. And I think we also need to keep our own elected officials accountable, and I would also say we need to also be engaged in the process.
I got to stop you right there.
Uh-huh.
There's a difference. It's recorded. When you look at the wealth gap,
Oh yeah.
the wealth gap between white Americans and us, the black counterparts, is what, $100,000? So we're in the white community. So in Baltimore, you're talking about Hamden, Fells Point.
Yeah, they
They
have the bandwidth to
hold up,
advocate. They have
hold
the
up.
bandwidth to do all that.
Yes, they are. If they're working and coming home, they're more likely to go to a community meeting. But I live in Baltimore City, and I'm not making any excuses. There's no excuse. I was taught to vote from a young age. But when you're dealing with socioeconomically challenged communities like we find in Baltimore, when you have elected officials who don't even campaign in my area, I'm a witness. I can tell you, Keith Haynes never came through my neighborhood. He came through here once every 4 years. So it wasn't like the people in this neighborhood actually even voted for him. But nonetheless, he was in there. He played the game for so long. But this neighborhood, this community never benefited at all from a Keith Haynes.
And
And
that's
all
and
of a
that's
sudden, he just disappears out the legislature without no word. We have no idea. And so it's like, hold up. You're saying we should be accountable. Whoever put Keith Haynes in office knew his skeletons and dirt before they put him in there. But just like they put him in there, they took him out and they put somebody else in there. And so it's like we're none the wiser. I'm sorry,
no,
I
I
venture.
didn't mean that the community should be held accountable. I'm saying that they have to be a part. We have to be a part of holding folks accountable. You know, and I will
I'm
say,
saying poor people are busy trying to find something to eat. They're not going
no,
to
they
a damn
are, but
community meeting.
I will say, Donnie, there are organizations and advocates that are coming to Annapolis.
We don't
Organizations.
trust them. They don't live here. They get paid executive salaries, live in Howard County, and want to make decisions for our
Well,
community.
then, unless you can change the vote, people are going to do what's their best interest for either their
These
particular
are called
community or
poverty
themselves.
pimps. And we've
Yeah,
seen them
I mean,
for decades, delegate. They come through Sandtown, Upton, East Baltimore. They claim to have all of these solutions. And at the end of the day, they're no more than poverty pimps. I'm wondering, you know what I want in the next General Assembly? An audit. I want you to bring all of these nonprofits who claim, well, you're going to be gone, I guess.
yeah, I'll be on the council level, but you can still say, I mean, you got some great leaders.
These nonprofits that clock $20 million a year, and they're in Baltimore. Well, what in the hell are they doing? Because all I see on the news is evidence that these nonprofits are absent.
Right. And that's come up. That's come up on about several ones. So I think there is something to that. And I would hope a colleague would bring um, legislation forth on that for sure.
Okay, so I'm going through my social media and I learned something I didn't know bright and early this morning.
Yes,
You're a Terrapin,
I am a chirp. I went to University of Maryland. That's how I got to this great state.
and you have an event coming up with black legis. I didn't even know. I mean, other than Colin Bird and my god sister, I didn't know that black people actually went to University of Maryland. I'm just
A
joking.
lot do, and I will say I chose Maryland's not perfect. Like any PWI, there's a lot of obstacles. But I would say one of the reasons I chose Maryland and when I went was Maryland was 13% African American, very similar to our national numbers. When I started, my college education was 2006 to 2010. And we had a very vibrant Black Greek life. I just had a new line cross, get a new at University of Maryland. So we have a very vibrant Black community at University of Maryland, very proud. And so this weekend is Black Alumni Weekend for Terps. And so I'm sitting on a panel with three other Terps. Delegate Karen Tolles from Prince George's County, who's also my chapter soror from Theta Nu,
You're,
and
you're Zeta, a Delta.
Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated. I don't know what you're talking about. And then my frat brother actually, Alonzo Washington, who's a delegate in Prince George's County, who's IZ Alpha, and Deborah Davis from Charles County, who's also a Terp.
Is there also an AKA convention?
Yes, Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated, our North Atlantic region will be descending on beautiful Charm City this week for our regional conference
I'm just learning that. Congratulations. This is the oldest black sorority in America.
in America. And I will say, as an African immigrant kid, I didn't even know. And that's why schools are important, right? And you were talking, Donnie, and so passionate about schools and education. I didn't even know Black Greek life existed until I stepped foot on Maryland's campus. And I saw my future sorors, and I was like, I got to be a part of that.
That's
So
how I felt when I first saw the Omegas at Mondawmin Mall. I was a teenager. I was like, "What is this?" And they real manly and masculine and had their uniforms on. It was great. It was really great for me to see. I'd never seen anything like it.
yeah, and growing up the way I did, my parents weren't educated here. We just had no concept of that. And so Alpha Kappa Alpha has been such a huge part of my life. My graduate chapter that I'm in here in Prince George's County are the same sorors that help bring me in, that work with me and support me today in what I do as a public servant. So there's a lot of, we can always talk about the things Maryland needs to do better, and I'd be the first one because I'm always yelling at the board meetings. But I will tell you, there are a lot of Black Terps. Delegate Jazz Lewis is a Black Terp. Derek Davis, who's now our state treasurer, is a Black Terp. There have been a lot of Black Terps that are serving our state that got their start at College Park.
I think some noise ought to be made. I mean, I think you should issue a list of black Terps who are elected officials. I mean, look at the name of this event. It says Coffee and Civics with your Black Alumni Maryland Legislators. It has Karen Tolles. I've never heard of her. Alonzo Washington, never heard of Alonzo. Deborah Davis, she looks familiar. And Wanika Fisher, I see you there. But this is coming up on this Saturday from 9 to 1, 9 to 11. And you can go to theprincegeorgian.com for details. But I didn't know about this. And I imagine there are a lot of other people that didn't know. I mean, the treasurer for the state of Maryland, and he is the second black treasurer, right?
Yes.
The black treasurer is a Maryland Terp. I mean, that. Can we get some scholarships as a result of that?
Yeah, I hope there's a lot of actually all of our fraternities and sororities through the Alumni Association, AKA's got a very robust scholarship. And all your state reps and state delegates have scholarships as well. And Maryland's Maryland's our flagship school. So
And it's probably time. Do they have a black president?
they do. Dr. Pines, he has been on the job for only, I think, 10 months now. Dr.
How
Pines,
significant is that?
it's a big deal. It's a big deal. Dr. Pines was Dean of Engineering. he increased black engineers, I think it was by 15%, during his time. I don't have all his numbers in front of me, just anecdotally from being at calls with him, but the number could be wrong. But he did a lot to increase, specifically with black men. Well, women in STEM, it's still hard, but in the School of Engineering. And so he went from dean of engineering, and now he's president of the University of Maryland, our flagship institution. And so it is a monumental big deal. I think with COVID, it was hard. He was I forgot the word for presidents of schools, but he was like sworn in and had to deal with his whole administration's been COVID. So for Maryland residents around the state, they haven't really been able to see him, and now we're in an election year, so I don't think he's gotten the real news buzz he deserves. But I do think next year with COVID settling out, elections will be over. I'm hoping the Black Caucus will highlight him more. I know he's working hard with our HBCU partners as well. They meet regularly. He meets specifically regularly with our superintendent of our public schools in Prince George's County, Prince George's PGCPS, about our enrollment into Maryland is an issue. And so he's I think he's getting his sea legs. But it's only been 10 months and he's been managing a campus with COVID. So I think he's still figuring out, how he's going to execute, but I'm excited for Dr. Pines.
Yeah, because we're suspect of University of Maryland. I mean, many of us are still reflecting on Kathy Pugh and the trouble she got in with the University of Maryland Medical System Board, and how we never heard another word about that board.
Yeah. Well, we did pass legislation in Annapolis. Johnny, I don't have all the specifics of it in front of me right now for you, but it does have an auditing. Like we address the board's issues in legislation that they have to report now. That was done, I think, a year or two ago. And then, the medical system and the board of trustees for College Park, they run as two separate entities. They even carry different insurance, everything. So they partner with the university, but Dr. Pines doesn't have direct say over the medical system at all. It's its own thing.
I understand. Delegate, thank you for taking time out. You look marvelous too. How do you look so great early in the morning, lady? I'm barely keeping my
I
eyes
barely
open.
have any. I barely have any makeup on. It was you, so I'm up, and we're 89 days to the primary. I have the countdown on my phone, so I'm like, I just got to work hard for 89 days, do it, and I just it's life isn't easy, and women are always telling me everything looks so easy for you. I was like, it is not easy. I struggle. I have my down moments as your viewers do, as you do, we all do. It's been a tough year. I had a very close friend die at suicide this year. It has been, and he was a local official as well. And we were very, very close. It's been a very trying year, and 2 years, but this year in particular. And then add the election on top. What I say to that is, I try to put my faith, I put God first. I am thankful every day that I'm here to fight for something better and to just have purpose. And those are the things that keep me sort of going. And, we were talking about our community and it's just the income issues, the trauma issues, the mental health issues. I always tell people you have to try to find time for yourself in whatever little way that is. And I always do that. You can't give it on an empty tank, so that's just what I tell people. We're all not gonna be perfect. If you
I
find your
I
one little
I,
thing.
I have found a new hobby. It's going to Darker Than Blue restaurant on North Charles Street. For one thing, don't laugh at me. They have the best lemon pepper wings. Oh my God. I catch the train down there just for those wings. They made me eat a salad the other day, but I'm telling you, they will change your life.
There you
Black
go.
business. Black business. Tell me about the trajectory for black businesses in your neck of the woods.
Oh, I'm so excited. Since you did a shout out, I'll do a shout out. For anyone that knows me, I'm a big wine person. And in Mount Rainier in our district of Borders, DC, there's a place called ERA Wine Bar. Black owned couple. They live in Mount Rainier as well. You can have wine tasting, amazing food. And if you're such a wino, you actually can rent your own wine locker to store wines, at the right temperature and all that. It's an amazing place. We're so excited to have them, a black family owned small business and centered on wine. So it's my new spot. So we are really, that's just the tip of the iceberg, and I hope to see more of that throughout my district. And on the council, I can help usher those businesses in. But we are very, very excited for Arrow Wine Bar.
I love your hair.
Thank you. I'm blonde. Yes, I've been dyeing my hair for a year. Blondes have more fun, so I decided to do it. But we all have isms. I was like, I never want anyone to think I'm whitening myself. And
Your
hair
hair
color
looks
can do
beautiful.
that, right? And so
See, I
thank
live
you.
in Baltimore, and we don't get to see. I don't get to see that often.
Yeah, so I decided to go blonde, and it's just my natural cut, and
I
it's
mean, I started to wonder if women were still going to the beauty salons. Everything has changed. Everybody, like they have protective styles. I have never heard of that prior to this generation.
yeah.
What the hell is protective
It's
styles?
just huge, whether you're doing braids or a weave or anything to protect your natural hair, because I think people realize the chemicals in relaxing are just not good. Not that it's not, every woman has their own hair journey, and everyone has to respect what other people do for their own happiness.
Well,
Um,
I
there's a
I
lot
got that. What I don't get is how Annie Malone, she was the pioneer in the black beauty industry in America out of St. Louis. She mentored Madam C.J. Walker. What
mm,
I don't get is how black women started an industry that's now dominated by everybody but black women.
yeah, I mean, it's hard to find a black
What
owned
about the
beauty
money?
supply store.
And now we're paying people in another country that don't look like us to define what beauty is. That's my problem.
Yeah, I think, that's like a whole other show, and I think you're
It
gonna need
is.
some
It is.
experts
Not
who
for
I
that.
can't speak on. I
Not
definitely,
for that.
especially, Nani, I'm always about recognizing your privilege, and coming from a mixed background myself, and I have a different hair texture. Um, I can't always relate to the same things that some of my other sisters are going through. So but what I will say is I'm in a place in my own life that I think what makes you happy is most important, and figuring out why you're doing something and does it make you happy. And so I think I wore a weave for the first time earlier this year, and I had so much fun. I enjoyed it. I loved it. I was like, hey, I can't keep it up
But
personally.
this is the part that threw me though, delegate. They now selling $5 bags of these things you glue on right here because people been wearing the protective style so much that their hairline is back here like Stevie Wonder.
Yeah, I think health and hair care and the health of your hair is a balance, and I think everyone finds I'm really proud of Delegate Stephanie Smith and Delegate Wilkins, all the work they did on Crown Act. Delegates Stephanie Smith rocked
What's that? What's that?
Crown Act means you cannot be discriminated on your hairstyle. It's a big deal by businesses. And so Delegate Stephanie Smith adorns locks, and Delegate Janelle Wilkins in Montgomery County has a beautiful natural afro that she wears all the time, and looks gorgeous. So I think women and their hair, it's not something we can judge. I don't know if it's for any political thing. I think it's about what makes you happy. I think the money behind the industry and all those things are definitely up for debate, and how we find those things. But I find that I experiment with new things. Whatever makes me happy and brings me the most joy is what I lean into. And I think my sisters out there deserve happiness. And however they feel they express their beauty and happiness and joy, I support.
Good deal. Why should people vote for you for county council?
Because I'm accessible, I want to see great changes for Prince George's County, and I'm always here for my residents. And I think my constituents in my delegate district are pretty happy campers. I hope, and I think for the council district's bigger than my delegate district, So I'm hoping my new residents will feel the same. And just putting forth what our community needs more than what a developer needs, more than what a particular interest needs. It's about our community. And my part of the county, Donnie, as I've told you, is we're super diverse. I represent currently the largest Latino population in the entire state. My council district's got a huge Latino, Afro and Caribbean Black population, Black American, white and Asian. I've got North County is everyone. You can eat anything you want.
Como es su español? Español es perfecto, bueno, un
Oh, sí, habla
poquito.
español poquito. Yo necesito mucho trabajo en español, but I've been working on it, and I'm one of the only Latina chief of staffs in the MGA. So we are an office that is always black and brown working
Let,
together.
let
So
me tell you this, delegate. I saw the Latinos in MoCo organized for some rally in D.C. 1 minute, it was like three Latinos. Three Latinos right there. Next thing you know, man, it was like 50,000.
it's a beautiful growing population. I've done a lot to my probation before judgment bill failed, but it has an immigrant aspect to it that helps immigrants when they're in criminal proceedings. And so it's a great and flourishing community. And so is our Black immigrant community. A third, oh, am I still here? Okay, I am still here. A third of Prince George's County small businesses are African owned and operated. I'm the only African elected to the entire state government. Um,
What?
Yep, it's just the only African direct immigrants elected are me and Will Jawando on the county council in Montgomery County. He's half Nigerian, half white. So, you know, um, all of us want representation and relate to our immigrants, so our immigrant community. And so we have a beautiful Black American and Caribbean, right? But I'm the first direct African immigrant to be elected there, and I'll be the first on our county council here in Prince George's.
Well, I want you to always know I'm a big fan of Africa. My master's studies was on international affairs. I was looking at Botswana, looking at the political stability, also know the economic viability, particularly based on their diamonds. Everybody looks at South Africa, but not a lot of people know about Botswana because I'm sick of De Beers clocking all the diamonds out of South Africa while my people live in shanty
It's
towns.
crazy.
It's unacceptable. Time to. And then now the Chinese are moving. I've read where there are 13 Chinese police stations in South Africa, and I want to know what in the Sam Hill happened there.
Yeah,
But
I'm not sure about the police, but I will say China and other Asian nations are buying up property and know where the resources are, and so they definitely are. I don't know about the police station part, but you are very right on Asian influence in the continent, and it's exacerbating. Yes.
how can people get in touch with you, Delegate? And thank you so
Um,
much. We thank you for answering your phone. You remind me of Marion Barry. That man answered his phone always. We get people, they ain't been a delegate 5 minutes. They on the state central committee. Oh, can you send me a text? Can you send me a email? Answer your damn phone. Thank you for always answering your phone. I love you for that.
You're so welcome. Well, thank you for always treating me with kindness and holding me to the fire, but with kindness, Donnie. I appreciate it. And you can follow me on Twitter. It's at Wanika Fisher. Instagram is at Wanika Fisher. Facebook is Wanika Fisher. Probably the only Wanika you'll meet. I haven't met another one. So on any of those platforms, or you can also visit my website, which is www.wanikafisher.com.
I want you to meet my daughter. Her name is Nyende. And I've not met another Nyende.
I haven't either.
Good deal. Have a beautiful day. Thank you again. I love your hair. Have a beautiful day.
Thank you. You too. Bye
My name's
bye.
Donnie Glover. Stay tuned for Mr. William Honeyblue. Good morning, world.